Kind of as I was preparing this week, I kept reverting back to, Bicycle Days is this week, the importance of community in our church and us being community to our community of Christ to everyone. As I was preparing, I continued to go back to the importance of the innocence of a child and the willingness to learn and be faithful as a child is. And I tried to come up with an analogy for that, and I guess the best thing I could come up with was a story from our family. And it's a little bit colorful, so if I offend anybody today, I apologize. I'm a firefighter paramedic, and my wife is a nurse, and then we also run a hobby farm, a larger hobby farm. But when we decided to start farming, maybe 12 years ago, prior to children, we decided, I think we need to raise these kids in a way where they can see trials, tribulations, and work through those times so that we can kind of grow into a well-rounded individual. So when you have livestock, unfortunately, you often have dead stock. And as stewards of our land and as our cattle, it's our responsibility to make sure that those animals don't go to waste. So when an animal perishes or when we have to put an animal down and for some certain way besides the normal route, our kids are there. And they see the skinning and the processing of that meat. And we can be with them as they try to kind of wrap their head around what in the world just happened. What am I seeing right now? So as a preface to this story, that's kind of how we raised our children. Was it 2 years ago, I believe, my grandmother passed away. Great-grandma Naomi to the girls. At that time, they did have a relationship with great-grandma Naomi. This is their first version of seeing human death. So we thought, let's take them to this funeral. Well, it's in Cincinnati, and everybody in here, or most people, have kids and children. And you understand at that time we had a 1-year-old, 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old, and boy, is traveling with those ages just a blast. So we thought instead of doing a 3-hour trip down and a 3-hour trip back in the same day, that's just not going to work. If I had hair, I'd pull out. So we decided let's split it up. We're going to go to the water park, Great Wolf Lodge in Cincinnati. We'll spend overnight there, and the next morning we'll go to the funeral. So that's what we did. We took them to the Great Wolf Lodge, and we stayed up too late. We didn't get them cleaned up, so their hair naturally is stuck sideways. We woke up the next morning. Things were going great. Typical Champer time. I don't know if any of you get here early. We're not here. So we're here at 10:02, and we kind of sneak in the back. So in typical Champer time, we woke up just a fuzz late, and we got our kids into the car just a fuzz behind schedule. And we drove to the funeral. And it's a room approximately this size. It's in small town Cincinnati, Bethel, Ohio. I don't know if anybody knows where that is. But when we got into the parking lot, we realized we really haven't spoken about caskets. So we probably ought to do that really quick. So before we went in, I talked to the girls. I said, girls, Grandma Naomi is going to be in here, but it's just her body, her spirit. She was a believer. Her spirit and her soul is with God right now. She's up there hanging out, doing her best things. So the girls were like, yeah, all right, cool. So, but we're not going to go up to the casket. We're just going to kind of cruise into the back. We're just going to hang out in the back. Much to our dismay, as we entered the funeral home, for some reason in Cincinnati, Bethel, Ohio, they put the doors at the front of the room. So when we walked in, the side door, the casket is right here. And the room is full because we get there at 10:05. So we walk in, and our oldest is a little bit concerned about the casket situation. She decides, I don't want to go. And at that point, we're like, well, we're here. We need to kind of cruise past. So Emma, I don't know if you see the sparkly pink dress over here. At that time, she was 3.5, just going on to 4. She said, she's the brave one. She gets on a horse and starts riding and doesn't look back. She decided, I want to go up to the casket. Now, what was going through her mind, I don't know. What she expected to see, I do not know. But what she said expressed the innocence of the child. As she approached the casket, as brave as can be, head up, chin up, she looked in the casket. And much to her relief, she seemed pretty content. And much to my relief also. But what she said, as she looked back to Ellie, who was standing by the door, was, "Ellie, it's okay. There's no blood and her skin's still on." At the loudest, sweetest voice you could possibly imagine. Horrified parents, we made our way to the back of the room as quickly as possible, because at that point we didn't know if they thought we were hillbillies or serial killers. The perception of a child, the innocence of a child, and the willingness to learn is kind of what I'm hoping we can grasp today. So today I decided we were going to speak on community. I'm not sure if this is James's Bible. I'm going to put it under here. James 2, in case he was wondering. Through community, I decided to use an illustration. We're going to speak through Exodus today, Exodus 17, if anybody's going to follow along. We're kind of, James often does exegetical speaking where we go verse by verse. I am not, I guess they say, critically thinking enough to go do that, so I'm going to do a topical conversation. I had 2 volunteers kind of picked out today. Where are they? Yeah. All right, so as we're going to go through this, I'm going to start this living example, I guess we can say. In Exodus 17, the Amalekites, and Amalek himself decided they were going to attack Israel. Israel still, the body of Israel is still wandering around the desert. For some reason, they couldn't make a straight line anywhere. So they're wandering around, getting mad at Moses. In this situation, he decides, "Moses, I'm going to need you to go up on the mountain. You need to pick your group of guys." And Joshua's going to do that. However, what I need you guys to do is we're just going to kind of put these staffs up above your head. And if you've read the story, you kind of know what's coming. All right? So I'm going to have one of you, and we did kind of a rock, paper, scissors. They decided who was going to have the harder job. Now, we're taking something a little bit out of context and adding a second person, but you'll see why here in a minute. Who was going to do the harder job? I'll give you the lighter one. All right, so I want you to just go over here. G, come over here. Put your hands, don't raise them yet. Just kind of, get pumped up, loosen up, get your shoulders loose. William, come over here. And have you stand here. Now, this is kind of an interactive adventure. As we're talking about community, you kind of see where I'm going to go with this. They may need some help. All right, so I'm going to kind of step back a little bit. Guys, go ahead and raise those staffs above your head. And as you can see, I want you to look out into this congregation. We really like our people here, right? We like everybody. Now imagine if you loaded those staffs, they died. So it's kind of a big deal. You want everybody to be healthy here, right? All right, your arms are going to feel good. You're going to feel like you can do this for 1,000 years. Just keep them up. Just keep them up. You can hold it for a long time, can't you? All right. So the community, going back into biblical times, community was kind of wrapped around the family, right? The family was the core. They traveled through the desert. They were in tents. The family was the core of their existence. That was the protection. They supplied the food. That was their family. That was the core of existence, was community. As we moved through biblical times, you're good, right? All right. As we move through biblical times, we discovered that, especially as in modern times, the Industrial Revolution kind of fractured and segmented some of that. And the great urbanization where people flocked to the cities, some of the community was watered down a little bit because we could find things independently. We could go to the grocery store and pick up a thing of milk. We didn't have to rely on the family that was milking the cow to go do this and then support that family. So family and community kind of was watered down as that continued on until to the current time when we can, I just saw Amazon will deliver your stuff with a drone. You could live an isolated life. And Jesus calls us time and time again. As I was looking, there's over 100 verses in the Bible that directly correlate Jesus calling us to be a community and a community of Christ. So it's something that's not just, this minuscule thing as we go through our lives. So as we go into current time, we're able to gather in the community of Christ at least once a week, but we need to do better than that. We need to be the community of Christ within the church and outside of the church. Are they working yet? You getting swole? All right, as they start to struggle, if anybody wants to help them, hold their hands up. We're going to start walking through Exodus and kind of what the situation was. So Exodus 17:8. Better put these glasses on so I can see. The Amalekites defeated. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Josiah, that's very good. Thank you for helping him. He picked the harder job. Can you help him? Yep, go help him. Yep, thank you. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of your men and go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held his hands above his head, they were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone. We don't have any stones. You guys are our stones right now. And put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side and one on the other, so that the hands remained steady until sunset. Now, and so Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. So as I'm picturing this, I don't know what time they started battle. I'm assuming in the morning. His arms were going to be pretty tired. So that's feeling pretty decent right now, what they're doing, right? How are you feeling? I don't know. You just keep stretching. You're good. So as long as Moses held his hands up, he was able to prevail, right? Are you feeling it at all? You mean you're taking it pretty good, taking it in stride. All right, so what I want to do is go ahead and have you guys sit down. So we can see that thank you. That felt pretty good, right? That you could do that, I mean, pretty much all day as long as people came around you. You can see where I'm going with this analogy. As we come around those that are in need, those that are struggling, those that need prayer, they need financial help, they need just the reading of God's word. It is our call as a community to do so, to come around that. But not only are we to come around them in times of difficulty, but we are called to help each other, to hold each other accountable as believers, to strengthen our relationship in the Word, to strengthen our relationship with God on a daily basis. I feel like you could hold it all day. You're doing really good. You're doing better than I expected. All right, so what I want you to do, you can go ahead and put your staff down. Thank you. Round of applause. You got to put yours back up. So you're feeling kind of sore right now, a little bit weak. You can go have a seat. Or you can help him. There it is. Good work. So as I'm in a men's group for Bible study, and as we were kind of going through the book of Mark, we were reading Mark chapter 9. And at this time in Jesus' life, he was with the apostles, and they were going about the land, performing miracles and casting out demons. At that time, he had given the apostles, through his name, the ability to cast out demons and to help forgive the sins through his name, through Jesus. But the apostles came across a demon-possessed child, and they did everything they could to cast out that demon. They weren't able to do it. And at that time, they're like, well, what is going on? Like, we have this, we can do this thing. So the father goes to Jesus and he says, I need you to come heal my son. At which time, Jesus cast the demon out. Afterwards, the apostles come up to Jesus, and I'm kind of building something in my mind's eye. The apostles come up to Jesus and they're like, hey, you said we could do this. Are you messing with him? I thought you were relaxing. You said we could do this. Why were we not able to cast out this demon? And Jesus says, I'm going to put this down because my arms are tired. Jesus says, Some things, and this one in particular, some demons cannot be cast out with anything but the power of prayer. So in my mind, I'm like, wait a second, how do I never see this when you're kind of reading about the power of prayer? You don't ever see this verse pop up. Well, I thought, well, shoot, if Jesus is saying, like, the power of prayer is not just something that you casually sit back and do. The power of prayer is the big guns. The power of prayer is something that you can do that will come around and support. And it's asking a direct link from God to us to help that community get stronger and stronger. You're doing really good. He's doing good. And so I kind of buffaloed you a little bit there at the beginning when I said he's going to have the harder job. 6'7", I don't know. Is that appropriate? So what I'm saying is to kind of bring things to summation. You guys are doing really good. You can bring your arms down. Thank you guys for coming around him, supporting him physically and emotionally. You can put your arms down. I'm not going to trick you this time. Good job. Why are you sweating? Yes. So I guess what I'm saying is, when we think of supporting our community and we think of supporting our Christian brothers and sisters, oftentimes we go straight to the bad times. We go straight to somebody died and they need support, or they need a meal train, which is great. They do. We need to wrap ourselves around those people and to support them and love them. But we are also called to help them in the good times. Let's get in men's groups and women's groups and get in small groups and to sharpen each other so that when the hard times come, we're ready to take those times on with God on our side. But as we look around the room, not everybody is 17, 18 years old and able to help in a physical manner or a financial manner. What I'm saying is the power of prayer. Everyone here can pray. Everyone has that ability here to pray to God, to help those get through, to help us get through, to be more God-like on a daily basis. So everybody can do something, and not to belittle the power of prayer, because as we saw in Mark 9, the power of prayer is and are the big guns. So don't hesitate to use the power of prayer. Did I tell you at the beginning of the sermon this was going to be very short? So it is very short. As we go through our day to day through the next weeks, months, years, continue to focus on God's call and Jesus' call for us to be a community of Christ. I think I'm going to close in a prayer. That was kind of youth group style, wasn't it? Short, sweet, and to the point. I'm going to close with a prayer. We're going to have the praise team come up and close with one song. I don't have a clue what time it is. Everybody's going to be able to get to lunch really early. Lord, as we go through our week, I pray that we continue to be a community of prayer, a community of God, to support one another as we go through trials and tribulations, and as we grow to be stronger Christians with an eye and focus on you. In your name we pray. Amen.